A low metallic roar rolled across the dark waters of the Strait of Hormuz just before dawn, echoing between the tanker lanes that carry nearly a fifth of the world's traded oil. Radar operators aboard commercial vessels reported sudden aerial movement at high altitude. Moments later, multiple fast-moving contacts appeared near the narrowest shipping corridor between Iran and Oman. According to maritime tracking services, civilian captains began altering course within minutes as U.S. Air Force F-15 aircraft descended towards suspected Iranian Revolutionary Guard naval positions positioned dangerously close to transit routes. Radio chatter intensified across international maritime channels. Escort vessels adjusted formation, surveillance drones shifted position overhead. Within minutes, the obstruction that had triggered days of rising tension began to disperse. The shipping corridor reopened. Oil tankers resumed forward movement under armed aerial overwatch. Insurance alerts downgraded from emergency to caution status. What unfolded above the Strait of Hormuz was not simply a tactical patrol adjustment. It was a direct demonstration of U.S. willingness to enforce freedom of navigation at one of the most strategically sensitive choke points on Earth. According to Iranian state media, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy had been conducting what officials described as a defensive maritime monitoring operation near the Strait of Hormuz in response to increased Western surveillance activity in the region. Iranian military spokesman stated that patrol boats had positioned themselves near key transit lanes to observe what they characterized as unusual movements by foreign naval assets operating close to Iranian territorial waters. Officials in Tehran claimed the deployment was intended to preserve maritime sovereignty and prevent what they described as unauthorized reconnaissance near critical coastal infrastructure. According to statements broadcast on Iranian television, commanders insisted no attempt had been made to permanently block tanker movement through the Strait of Hormuz, and they described reports of disruption as exaggerated. Iranian officials said the appearance of U.S. F-15 aircraft represented an unnecessary escalation designed to signal military pressure rather than ensure shipping safety. They further argued that foreign air patrols increased the risks of miscalculation in already crowded waters, but the story quickly became far more complicated. Before we break down how U.S. air power forced open one of the world's most sensitive shipping corridors, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest dramatic developments shaping global geopolitics. According to U.S. Central Command officials cited by American media outlets, the deployment of F-15 aircraft over the Strait of Hormuz followed intelligence indicating that multiple IRGC fast attack boats had maneuvered unusually close to commercial tanker lanes during peak transit hours. U.S. military spokesman stated that the aircraft conducted what they described as a presence enforcement operation, flying low-visibility patrol arcs intended to signal immediate readiness to protect civilian shipping. Analysts noted that the F-15 platform is designed not only for air-to-air superiority, but also for precision strike capability against small maritime targets if required. According to defense officials, no weapons were released during the encounter. Instead, the aircraft reportedly executed high-speed passes designed to compel repositioning of Iranian patrol craft without initiating direct confrontation. U.S. media reported that coalition naval escorts simultaneously tightened protective formations around vulnerable tankers. Maritime monitoring agencies confirmed that traffic resumed within hours. Between these narratives lies a complex reality that analysts are still working to understand.
What does this mean for the global energy system? The answer is control of the Strait of Hormuz determines whether energy markets remain stable or volatile. The Strait of Hormuz is not simply a regional waterway. It is the single most important maritime energy corridor in the world. Roughly 20% of globally traded crude oil passes through this narrow passage every day, linking Persian Gulf producers to Asian, European, and global markets. Countries including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Iraq, and Qatar depend on uninterrupted transit through the Strait of Hormuz to sustain export flows that support national budgets and global industrial supply chains. Analysts noted that even temporary interference with tanker movement can produce immediate insurance surcharges, shipping delays, and price volatility in international markets. The presence of IRGC fast attack boats near these lanes therefore carries strategic weight far beyond local signaling. According to maritime security experts, the deployment of U.S. F-15 aircraft sends a message that aerial enforcement remains part of Washington's layered strategy for protecting navigation rights alongside naval escorts and surveillance platforms. The message was clear: control of the Strait of Hormuz remains a red line for the United States. Immediate military consequences began unfolding within hours of the aerial deployment. According to U.S. defense officials, additional reconnaissance aircraft were redirected toward the Strait of Hormuz to monitor follow-on activity by IRGC naval units. Coalition patrol ships adjusted escort routes. Regional air defense systems shifted alert levels. That increase in surveillance coverage signaled preparation for rapid response if further interference occurred. Regional governments responded quickly. According to Gulf Cooperation Council officials, maritime security coordination centers in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia increased information sharing protocols with U.S. naval forces operating nearby. Shipping advisories were updated across multiple ports. Insurance risk assessments temporarily rose by several percentage points before stabilizing once tanker movement resumed. That spike in insurance risk has consequences far beyond shipping companies. Global markets reacted next. Energy traders monitored the Strait of Hormuz situation closely as benchmark crude prices briefly climbed during early trading hours before stabilizing after confirmation that transit lanes remained open. Analysts noted that even short-lived uncertainty near the Strait of Hormuz can influence futures contracts across Asia and Europe. Freight costs rose, hedging activity increased, energy volatility widened. Diplomatic channels then became active. According to European Union officials, consultations began with regional partners to reduce the risk of further incidents involving patrol craft and coalition escorts. United Nations representatives reiterated calls for restraint from all parties operating near the Strait of Hormuz. That diplomatic engagement signaled concern that repeated encounters could escalate into a wider maritime confrontation. Domestic political reaction in the United States followed quickly. According to congressional sources cited by U.S. media, lawmakers requested classified briefings on the rules of engagement governing aerial enforcement operations near Iranian patrol zones. Defense analysts debated whether the deployment represented deterrent signaling or early-stage escalation management. That debate reflects broader uncertainty about how long maritime tensions near the Strait of Hormuz can remain contained without triggering deeper confrontation.
Iranian officials maintain that their patrol deployments near the Strait of Hormuz were defensive monitoring operations intended to safeguard national waters and observe foreign military movement. U.S. defense officials maintain that F-15 aircraft ensured uninterrupted tanker transit and prevented interference with international shipping lanes. The encounter reflects a fragile equilibrium that has defined the Strait of Hormuz for decades. According to analysts, both Iran and the United States rely on calibrated signaling rather than direct confrontation to protect strategic interests while avoiding escalation beyond control. Each patrol movement sends a message. Each surveillance flight carries implications. Each response reshapes expectations for the next encounter. Maritime choke points, like the Strait of Hormuz, operate as pressure valves within larger geopolitical competition between regional and global powers. When those valves tighten, markets react, governments reposition forces, diplomatic channels accelerate communication. The framework described in the briefing guidance shaping this analysis underscores how rapidly localized encounters can expand into global strategic signals. The Strait of Hormuz remains open tonight. Tankers continue moving. Air patrols remain active overhead, but the balance sustaining that movement depends on decisions still unfolding behind closed military and diplomatic doors. Will this enforcement operation remain an isolated incident, or is it the beginning of something far larger? Stay tuned for further updates as this situation continues to develop. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic geopolitical developments shaping the world. Earth Warning Alert.